According to an article that was written for Boxing News 24, IBF welterweight titleist Jaron Boots Ennis is claiming to have not known that there were negotiations going on behind the scenes about a potential fight between he and Virgil Ortiz Jr. And so, as word has come out about this, he has come under scrutiny because people are feeling that after his recent performance against Karen Chukterhadran, excuse me for murdering that name, Boots may be rethinking his opportunities, whether he wants to move to 154 or remain at 147 and try to unify. Nonetheless, discussions are being made, and now sentiment is swelling against him. Let's talk about what could be at the center of this, and how can Ennis get out of this situation? When we talk about seeing the fights that fight fans and supporters of the sport of boxing want to see, quality matchups are at the top of the list. And for the likes of IBF titleist Jaron Boots Ennis, after his recent showing against Karen Chukterhadran, he has seemingly waffled a little bit because he was speaking strongly about the possibility of moving up to 154 pounds. But he was also specifically talking about hunting down specific fighters. After the Karen fight, he seems to pump the brakes a little bit. But see, people do remember what he has said in the past. In fact, when Virgil Ortiz Jr. was at 147, there was talk about Jaron possibly facing Heat, but at that time, Ortiz's camp had said, Oh, that fight is about 4 years down the line. So they weren't really thinking about Giron at this time. And it has since changed that Ortiz had moved on up to 154, primarily for health reasons, because the weight cut at 147 was just debilitating him too much. And he has since fought a couple of times at junior middleweight. Now, Ennis, who is also signed up with Matchroom now, is being courted for the likes of appearing on Riyadh season events. And because Turki Al-Sheikh and Ed Hearn from Matchroom have a relationship, it wouldn't hurt for Turk to try to push to get Giron Ennis on one of those Riyadh season events. And because of the negotiations that have taken place in the past, a possible unification match could be an opportunity, possibly against the likes of Brian Norman Jr., where they had originally talked earlier this year about a fight like that taking place, but the Norman Jr. camp said, not in Philly. Deal fell through. There's also the likes of WBC champion Mario Barrios, a fighter who is an entertaining and engaging fighter, but many people think that as soon as he fights one of the other champions, we may see him lose his title. Personally, Mario has fought quality opposition whenever he has the opportunity. And not wanting to fight Ennis in Philly is understandable, because if you're going to risk your title, you're not just going to do it in the other guy's backyard and be the B-side and have nothing going as far as a negotiated bout in your favor. So Barrios could be a consideration, bringing him over to Riyadh to face the likes of Ennis. And then let's not forget Imantas Stanionis, a rival for Ennis, since they both have been campaigning at the welterweight division. And while both of them were without title, there had been a growing sentiment that if they could face one another one day, it would be a hell of a showdown for a championship. But Stanionis, with his inactivity, we kind of wonder exactly where that could go. So it brings everything right back to Giron Ennis and that post-fight interview that he had with Chris Mannix. And he spoke as if he wasn't certain. He was saying maybe it's time to move on up to junior middleweight, or should he go ahead and try to unify and head toward an undisputed opportunity at 147. Either way, the path is murky and there are no guarantees. But that Boxing News 24 article, he's trying to say that it was a miscommunication and he wasn't in the loop for the Virgil Jr. talks. But he also admits that he chose not to fight Ortiz because he wanted to stay at 147 to try and unify the division. You see, I do believe Ennis is now feeling the pressure that comes with the sport and being at the top. And I don't mean him being at the top over everyone else, but being a noted name in the sport. And there has a demand from people who pay tickets to watch boxing. They become matchmakers and they say, I want to see you against this guy. I want to see you against this guy. Let's see, have you been tested? One thing that the fight with Karen showed is that Boots isn't as invincible as many had kind of given him the label as, that he was just the next phenom. He's a human being like us all. However, if he's going to fight his contemporaries, he's going to have to be a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more open to fighting outside of Philly. And the Riyadh season events are a total different experience altogether. Though fighters are compensated financially, it's the part about getting the work done inside the ropes that really take to task where a fighter is, because these fighters are not necessarily at their best when they're fighting in familiar territory and comforting grounds. But if you're going to go overseas, you have to put your best foot forward, and there's a lot more on the line. So, if the likes of Jaron Ennis is going to go out there and face his contemporaries, he's going to have to be prepared for that. And if he thinks that he's feeling heat now, just wait until the opportunity to step into those circumstances overseas in Riyadh present themselves. And something tells me that Hearn is going to be pressuring him to make a specific move. If he doesn't want to make that move, that could be a very short relationship between he and Matchroom. But this is something that he's got himself into, and it's now time for the young man to step forward and get himself out of these circumstances. I believe there's an opportunity for him to show his wares, but it could come at the cost of a title. Ennis has looked vulnerable, but he hasn't fought the best yet. And when I say the best, I'm talking about his contemporaries. I'm not talking about some of the older fighters that he may have been chasing or whatever. I'm talking about the guys that are right there within his peer group, and they are now needing to fight one another and face one another. That's how we'll find out what's what, and we'll find out who's who. But what do you think? This is Stormy B Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about Jaron Boots Ennis and what his next move should be. Should he remain at 147? Or should he move on up to 154? There are challenges on both ends, and he is not a certified person to come out on top. Leave comments and let's discuss further. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.